The Odinlake Pro is the first chair I've tried that includes a footrest so that it can be used like a recliner. This is an interesting concept for those that want to kick back in their chair. These are my first impressions after spending some time with the Odinlake. The unboxing for Odinlake was straightforward and everything was packed well within the box. There were some small boxes inside to help protect parts from hitting each other, but unfortunately, these boxes didn't quite prevent me from scratching the cheap plastic chrome on the base when attaching the casters to it. Use a blanket here, although your feet will do a lot more damage if you wear shoes. One reviewer on Amazon did complain that the assembly process was difficult for them, with the holes not aligning properly for some of the bolts. That really wasn't my experience as everything went together smoothly. If you followed Odin Lake's directions in the order that they recommend, I can see how the part where you attach the mechanism and backrest to the seat could be a bit cumbersome with the size of all of the parts. Now, I do believe that this could be done in a different order, but once everything was together, it was time to try out the chair. Big draw for me to the Odin Lake was how thick the seat pad appeared in the images on Amazon. It looked like a nice soft pillow to sit on, and because many of you want something more cush, I thought this might be it. The seat itself looks nice with black upholstery that's well stitched throughout. Looks can be deceiving though, and honestly, it's happening more often than not on Amazon. The actual thickness of the pad itself isn't more than 3 inches and it sits pretty firm. Now, the firm seat pad is a good thing in my opinion, since the pad isn't overly thick, it helps from bottoming out. Now, firm pads also tend to hold up better, but there's definitely a point in which chairs can be too firm, like what we've seen on the Secret Lab chairs. Now, I don't think that the upholstery used for the seat pad really helps with the firmness either. It felt really cheap and rough, and you can actually hear how rough it is when I rub my hands across it. I also don't think this would be a great option if you're working from home in shorts. There is a seat depth adjustment, which I found really easy to use. The lever under the back left side of the seat engages the function, and you can easily move it forward and back from within the chair. One of the first things I noticed about the Odin Lake is that it sat very low. Now, this is opposite of what I'm used to with Chinese brands, as most will sit way too high. When I tried to move the chair up, it had a super short height range as well, only moving about 3 inches. Now, this put me right on the edge where I should use a chair at 6 feet tall, but I would definitely be concerned for those who are 6'1" and above. Because Odin Lake has low end casters, a fix for taller users could be investing in something like rollerblade casters that would raise the chair another inch. Now, this would also fix the problem you run into if you have hard surfaces, since the casters included with the box are made for carpet. Even without an adjustable lumbar support system, the Odin Lake had ample lower support. Now, I personally like a lot of lumbar support, and this even felt really good for me. There isn't any backrest height adjustment on the Odin Lake, and the back frame is a bit exposed as well. I had zero issues here with any pressure points on the backrest frame, so this is good. But if you're on the heavier side or have really wide shoulders, this might be something to consider. My only real complaint here is that with the headrest, it makes it a little bit more difficult to move around. And this is really similar to the Fern chair. So if you've seen that review before, Ryan mentioned with the headrest, it's a little bit more difficult to use. So if I removed it, my guess is like the Fern, it would probably move a bit more freely. The mesh upholstery is very similar to the seat upholstery being extremely coarse. Now, my real concern here is that if it comes into contact with your skin, it's probably not that comfortable. Additionally, this type of mesh is typically more aggressive, pulling fibers from loosely woven clothing. The armrests are probably the weakest point for the Odin Lake. This isn't because of the adjustments, though. It comes standard with three-dimensional armrests that include height adjustment, depth adjustment, and pivot adjustment. And there's a pretty decent range of motion for all of the adjustments as well. The real problem for
It's
the
like
arms is how hard they are. They are hard as a rock with zero padding. They also come up short when reclining in the chair, which we'll talk about next. Odin Lake features one of the deepest reclines for chairs that we've tested that isn't a gaming chair. They even claim that it will go as far back as 135 degrees, which I believe after kicking back in the chair for a while. Now, this is really where the headrest on the Odin Lake shines. Fully reclined, getting the headrest adjusted to fit my body wasn't an issue. There is a good amount of height range on the headrest as well, so I can see it working for those who are quite a bit shorter than me. I was also able to pivot the headrest in a comfortable position so that I couldn't feel any of the hard edges from the frame. How good is a chair with a deep recline that includes a headrest but doesn't have a footrest? I guess it doesn't matter here because the Odin Lake has a footrest. And this is the first time I've actually used something like this, and it's different. I like the concept for those that use a chair for tasking and then like to kick back to consume some content. The recline feature is actually quite comfortable. The headrest fits me, the seat and back are comfortable in full recline as well. Now, the footrest also provides good support for my legs and fits me well. The only problem is that the footrest feels really cheap. It's just sort of sliding freely as well. It doesn't want to lock in place, which was definitely annoying. And the actual place to rest your legs is bare plastic. Adding some padding or even some nice vinyl here would be much better, in my opinion. There was a slight pivot feature, which I found nice to provide some additional flexibility depending on how you like to rest your legs on the footrest. Now, the biggest issue I had with Odinlake and Recline was the armrest. This is unfortunately way too big of a gap as you go into recline and have zero support here. This is a major miss. Now, overall, the Odinlake is a decent pick if you can get it for, say, the $399 price point. But if it's at full retail, $500, I'd probably look at a Hayward Soji or a Eurotech Vera as a more comfortable alternative.